Hey there, Chadi Bazzi here with another episode of the Top Listing Agent Show. Today I have a very unique kind of episode. Our guest today is a man that I've never heard anyone else do what he's done. He's actually knocked on over 125,000 doors. And I know what you're thinking to yourself, this doesn't sound sexy. I don't want to knock on doors, etc. And the best part about it is you don't have to knock on doors. But I'll tell you, through anything in life, if you put in that much effort, that much consistency, that much dedication, that big of a commitment, what you extract are the lessons that will make leaps and bounds in all the other areas of your life and all the other areas of your business. And I can't wait to jump into this interview with my friend, Stephen Ross, author of the book, Doors Open When You Knock. So, Stephen, welcome.
It's awesome to be here. What a great introduction. I love it.
Well, you know what? Great people deserve great introductions. And when you do what most people are unwilling to do, that's what you get. Yeah. So, obviously, you've been at this for a lot. Well, tell the world who you are and how awesome you are.
As Chadi said, my name's Stephen Ross, and I am, although an author, I am a licensed real estate agent. I've been selling for 17 years, and I got in this business, leaving a corporate and startup career, thinking, oh, how hard can this be?
Yeah.
Really, right? As every agent does. In 2005, I got my license and realized, wow, this is so much harder than I thought. And as we were just saying before we hit record, I was exposed to a real estate coach in 2005, and he said, it's a very simple business. Knock on heads, knock on doors, pick one. And I thought, come on, man, I'm not knocking on doors. I've worked on Wall Street. I've went to UCLA. No way, man. And 3-4 months later, I realized, holy crap, I'm going to fail at this business unless I do something drastically to turn this around. I won't make it. And that's what put me face head to head on this unlikely career.
Wow. Okay. Now 125,000 doors later, let me ask you a question. I've never asked this question on the podcast before, but I just got the calling to ask that question. And I think I've heard you talk about it in one of your other interviews. Would you consider yourself to be an introvert or an extrovert?
Introvert all the way, man.
Okay.
I don't do anything social. I don't give it the PTA. I don't kibitz with the other moms and dads. I don't do any of that. I don't want anything to do with anybody. Just leave me alone.
I had to ask that question because as an introvert, it's like, you want to be in your own little space away from everyone. And here you are entering other people's space. Like that must have going through that transition. Probably what came with that is like fear, anxiety, self-doubt. How did you overcome that? Because it's the same exact thing for someone that wants to make a phone call. It's the same exact thing for someone that just needs to do a presentation and put themselves out there. And I think you have the answer 125,000 doors later. How did you deal with that? How did you get yourself to do it?
There's a couple layers, and that is an excellent question. There's a couple layers to the question. The first is, I think, and maybe you'll disagree or maybe you'll agree. I think ultimately we all have to have something at stake drastically in order for us to take that kind of action. And for me, as I said, I got my license March 15th, 2005. My third child, and fortunately last child, 3's enough. My daughter was born April, 6 weeks later. And so I had 3 kids to feed. I wasn't going back to the corporate world. I had to make this work, right? I had no plan B. I had nowhere else to go. So that was the first part of it, is like, all right, I'm going to have to do something that I am not going to want to do. I get that. in order to have this other life that I say I want. And then so that's the first piece. And then the second piece is, well, how do you go do something miserable like knock on doors day in, day out for 16 years? And that is a different, that's a different answer. So the answer to the latter one is, once you realize, all right, I've got something at stake, and now you've got to deal with it, is that, first off, when you knock on the first door and you don't die, that's a good sign, right? Like, okay, this fear and all this anxiety is in our head, right? That's what fear stands for. False evidence appearing real. We all heard some version of that. And then it just becomes a matter of repetition, right? The more we do it, the more it's not so scary, the more you have an opportunity to get better, right? So that didn't kill you the first time, it didn't kill you the 100th time, didn't kill you the 1000th time. And so now it's like, all right, well, I'm still pretty terrible at this. Maybe if I get a little bit better, it won't be so miserable. And that really was the evolution for me. I had something at stake, and I kept doing it. I just didn't quit. I was willing to give it at least some time to see if it was going to work. And of course, knocking on doors is not new, right? That's been around for longer than I've been alive. So it wasn't like I was inventing new technology. Like, people have done this for a long time successfully. Like, it does work. And I'm not saying everyone should knock on doors. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying, right, as a metaphor is what I'm saying. You can apply it to, whatever you're up against. I wasn't doing anything revolutionary. I wasn't Elon Musk, creating the first full electric car. I wasn't doing anything like that. So just getting really clear about that gave me the confidence to keep going and, get better and build upon itself.
Wow. Okay. So one thing I heard like 3 times in this in your answer is, I had to do it.
Yeah.
Okay. And you could have had any excuse as to why you shouldn't do it, but your focus was on your reasons. And I always say, when you connect with your reasons, it will automatically delete your excuses. Okay. So all the excuses were out the window. You're not reinventing the wheel, doing something that's never done before. You go out there, you knock on your first door. I'm curious to find out, what was your, let's say, how many doors would you say you had to knock on until you got that first deal? All
right, so this is great. So, you've heard, Chadi, you're familiar with the tortoise and the hare, right? The old fable, the tortoise and the hare. Yes. I am not the hare. I'm the tortoise. So just be clear, I'm the tortoise, everybody. If you're the hare, good for you. I'm slow but steady. It takes me a while. And the very first year, I was terrible. And I got my first listing by accident. By accident, meaning I talked to the guy at the door, like I'm talking to you right here, we're on Zoom, you and I, so we can see each other. So I'm talking to the guy at the door, and then he closes the door, I go to the next house, you go down the walkway, you go down, you go up the next walkway, you come down, I'm going to 2 doors down, and I see him. He come out the door and he's waving at me, he's waving me down. And he says, "Hey, Stephen, yes, can you come back into my house? I think we're moving." and what had happened is he'd gone back into his house, and his wife said, "Tom, who is at the door?" And he said, "A realtor." And she said, "Tom, we're moving to Hawaii. Go get him." And that is how I got my first listing, right? Completely terrible. Obviously, I was terrible at the door, and yet I still got business. The point is, A, don't be terrible like me, but B, just showing up, right? Even a blind squirrel will find a few nuts. I didn't have an opportunity to improve if I didn't start by being where I was at.
Yeah. I love that story. And you said it's sheer luck. It really, in reality, if you hadn't put yourself out there, you would have never ever been able to experience what you call luck.
Yeah.
And you know, and you're absolutely right. You know, there's for some people, they will achieve that result very quick, and for some people, it's going to take a little bit longer. But even though you may be slow, as long as you're steady, meaning you're consistent, sooner than later, you're going to have that breakthrough. And once you have that breakthrough, more breakthroughs will follow, because that first breakthrough is, number one, going to give you the evidence that you need. You know, the evidence. I mean, we all need the evidence, like, is what I'm doing going to work? You get the evidence, but then again, you get something even more important than the evidence, which is the lessons that came along the way for you to do it better and faster next time around. So what happened after you've taken that first listing from door knocking? Did you do better your second round, meaning your second year of doing door knocking?
I say the second year I had a little more courage to ask some more real estate questions. And by the third and fourth year, which were my last 2 years in California before I moved to Colorado, I would say I was starting to get a little bit of brand recognition in the neighborhoods I was knocking, and it was feeling natural because I'd been, you know, after 3 and 4 years, now all of a sudden, right, this is just what I do. But, you know, on some level, you could say I was still pretty terrible. I mean, I would say by my 10th year is when I really, you know, 10 years and overnight success. What is that?
Yeah.
That joke.
Yeah.
I really do feel like by year 10, I felt like I'm beginning to have a little mastery. And I know that's terrible for people listening. You're like, wait a minute, I have to knock on doors. Well, one, you don't have to knock on doors, but I have to do something for 10 years. I don't know if you do or you don't. I'm just saying it just took a long time to really feel like I could deal with anything. I mean, anything. I could deal with anything at the door. There's nothing that's going to faze me. And that doesn't come in year 3 or 4.
Exactly. And, you know, having been on so many doors, we're going to segment it to a completely different direction in a second. But before I do that, I want to know, like, in knocking on so many doors, I mean, you've probably seen everything underneath the moon and the sun in terms of personalities, in terms of, like, stories you probably don't even want to tell here. What's, like, the worst thing you've ever seen? Like, I'm just curious, like, give us, like, a funny story or a horror story or something. Did you get bit by a dog?
I've never had, knock on wood, right? No dog issues. But the two weirdest, so the first thing is just, I'd say the scariest thing, and it wasn't, you know, I went to the door, it was here in Colorado. This didn't happen in California. I guess it could have, but it happened here. I remember going to the door and the guy got his guns here on his hip and his hands on the gun, right, as he's opening the door. That's a little off-putting.
Yeah.
So that was probably the scariest, and he ended up being a super nice guy, which is fine. But I would say the worst story, and because I'm talking to my fellow realtors here, the two meanest, and I mean, it's not even close. It's not even close. The two nastiest people were both realtors. They happen to be females. I'm not picking on females. They just happen to be realtors. And they were so mean and nasty. You would have thought I was, attempting burglary or, some other, slanderous offense. I mean, it was just, and yet I have a very good friend in the business who we met because I knocked on her door, and we ended up doing several deals from that door. I had a listing, she had a buyer. We've done many deals after. And it just shows the difference between where does your mindset, right? Are you open, looking and abundant, looking for opportunity, or are you scarce and closed off, fear and protecting? And so I just share that because, being all realtors, I think we all can relate to that.
Part of the segue was going to go into, lack and abundance, and what are your expectations when you're doing anything, and not necessarily just the phones. It could be your online marketing. It could be picking up the phone, calling for sell by owners, expired, past clients, centers of influence. circle dialing, it doesn't matter. I think we're all a product of our expectations. And you said, you know, the words lack and abundance. Did you have an expectation of creating a result every single day, even though you did not create a result every single day? And how did you deal with that?
Yes. So, I mean, this may be contradictory to what some people believe. And so I'm not saying that what I'm saying is right. I'm just saying this is what I did. And this is what worked out for me. I realized early on, I mean, think about this, Chadi. If I come to your door, there's two things that are true. One, I'm trespassing.
That's true.
Two, I'm interrupting you. We didn't have a scheduled appointment. You weren't waiting for me to come arrive at your doorstep. So those two things are absolutely true. And I knew by year 2 or 3 that I need to shift my mindset on how I'm approaching people and what am I actually doing. And this is what I came up with. One, I can leave people better off than when I found them. You know, so I can leave you, even if you're busy, I'm so sorry, have a great day, and smile and wave, right? And wish them well. 2, look, I do have 3 kids to feed. I am there for now business, not, you know, not someday maybe when your kids graduate high school and they're currently in 3rd grade, you know, none of that, like now. Yeah. And if now is not an option, which is most of the time, how can I be of service? You know, what can I do to help you out? Whether it's a painter, a sprinkler person. I've helped people get jobs. I've connected people who are in quilting groups. You know, how hard is it to pass on some information and help someone out? It takes me, you know, 30 seconds, a minute. And so how can I be of service? And those 3 things, I can win at every door, right? So if I don't do those 3 things, then there's a failure and there's something to improve. But then I'm not dependent on something outside of my control to determine whether I was successful that day. Mm-hmm. The only thing that mattered, did I get to the doors? And, you know, did I do what I was supposed to do? And if I did that, win. If I didn't, lose. It was that simple.
You know, and you know, a lot of people, what they do is they like to complicate things. Okay. And it's either, look, it's black and white. It's either yes or no. It's either today or tomorrow. There is nothing in between. It's you do, you get, you don't, you won't. Now, your book, Doors Open When You Knock. Okay. Yes, we want everyone to pick up the book. We want everyone to read the book. And I'm saying go out there and get the book. But what I want to know, like, what is one big idea from the book? What's like the biggest thing I can take away from the book?
Well, so the feedback from people who read the book is that it nails what it's like to be a real estate agent, right? What it takes to stay on the path. So I don't know that there's one. I think it depends on where people are and what's going to resonate them on the biggest thing.
Yeah. So look, I've gone through the book. I'm sure everybody's going to get
something different.
Different people in different stages of their career are going to get like a biggest, different breakthrough, etc. What I really want to know is like, what is like one common theme? Okay. What is one common theme that if any real estate agent just adopted that one common theme, they will succeed?
And I was going to answer. So you beat me to it. But what I would say, and
I'm reading your mind.
You are reading my mind, man. This is fantastic. I think the biggest thing to take away would be patience, because most of us aren't willing to give ourselves to the process and let things play out how they go. We're in such a hurry, such a rush to have it today, that we aren't quite willing to be patient enough to see what's just around the corner.
Right. Right.
And and right, I say that even to myself today, it's a constant reminder to myself, right? Just to have patience, right? Stick with the process. The process works.
Yeah, it's like everybody wants everything right now. Like they want to go out there and, for example, door knock, and they meet a lot of nice people, but they ain't got no appointment. Oh, this doesn't work. Or the person that calls the for sale by owners and expireds. Oh, I didn't set any appointments. This doesn't work, etc. So patience, my friend, is, as they say, patience is a virtue. And look, I'm guilty of that too. I want everything right now. I'm like fast, like if you can't give it to me right now, I'd like forget about it. But where I personally had my biggest breakthrough is where I really caught myself, okay, become aware of the fact that it is going to take a little bit longer than I wanted to. And that's something I learned from one of my first mentors. Because he said to me, Chadi, everything you want, you will get. It's just going to get a little bit longer for you to get it than you want to. The key word is then you want to. And then the other key word was a little bit, not a lot of bit, a little bit longer.
That's well said.
Etc. Now, what are some of the things that, I'll rephrase the question. And I'm just going to turn it right back on you. Okay, you're the author. You're the one that has a lot of knowledge on this topic and beyond. So I'm going to say this. Is there a question that you feel that I should ask you right now that I haven't asked you that our audience will benefit from the answer? Man, I'm asking all the hard questions.
It was a hard question. I mean, I think let me twist that a little and turn it back into kind of meld it back with the other question.
Okay.
I think the other piece that's hard to take away and apply to ourselves is personal responsibility. I'm not new to saying this. I didn't invent personal responsibility. I'm just very attuned to how it influences my outcomes and my experience of life. And it's so prevalent in our life it's just everywhere. And let me give you an example. If in our business, right, if we're representing our clients, right, we're their fiduciary, we're there to fight for them and to win, which means sometimes the other side is an idiot, or we want them to lose, or we want to, they're not really an idiot, but we feel that way sometimes, right? We all have been in a transaction where we're just like, if this agent would just get out of the way, if they just would stop being such a moron, if they would just, you just want to shake them. It's if they would just, and us making them wrong and imposing our will just doesn't make it any better. And if we can be fully responsible for how that transaction goes, and it's not blame or fault, it's not the truth, it's just a point of view. If we can be responsible for that, then we have an ability to say how that transaction goes. And I see it in my own, when I get hung up, whenever I have a transaction going wrong and I start to blame the other agent, I realize, the place to look is right over here. What am I doing to make this thing go smoothly? What am I doing to keep it on track? How am I helping them help their clients? How am I, and so that comes about in our negotiations. It comes with our clients. It comes with my commitment to myself to do what I said I was going to do every day. And I just think there's not a day that goes by where I'm not dealing with some level of being accountable and responsible for things that I don't want to be accountable and responsible for.
I love it. I love it. Personal responsibility. You are responsible for everything. And Stephen, we're going to play a little different game right now. And the game is, I am now, let's say, it doesn't matter what stage I am in my business, whether I'm new or whatever. I want to increase my production by, let's say, 1 to 2 more deals every single month. Okay, I want to increase my production by 1 or 2 deals every single month. And then I say to you, Stephen, can you give me some insights? Can you give me some strategies? Can you give me some coaching on how I can do that? What would your system or strategy or advice be?
Well, I'm not a marketing guy, so I'm sure there's other levers and things to pull. Not my expertise, so I'm not going to comment on that. I'm just going to keep it to, what I know, which is how do you build an advisory business, right? How do you build clients who trust you implicitly, pay you your fee, and are willing to refer you? And I mean, the only thing I know that works consistently, talk to more people and get better at talking to them. And when I mean get better at talking to them, that doesn't mean getting better at convincing them, selling them, or cajoling them. It means quickly finding out, are we a fit, right? Because that's the other thing, is that I don't want to spend a lot of time with people who don't want to pay me my fee or aren't going to work with me, because I don't have time for that. I'd rather spend my time somewhere else. So being able to get good at that helps make the first part more effective, right? Because you're not wasting time with people who are never going to work with you. And of course, you can't get better at figuring that out until you keep talking to more people. If you're talking to 5 people a day, 10 people a day, it's going to take you a long time to get better.
So number one is it's a contact sport. You got to have more conversations. Number 2, you got to get better at having that conversation, improve the conversation.
That's right.
Well, if I just focus on those 2 things, would that get me more transactions?
In the long run, yes.
Okay. So how can we speed up the process and make it in a short run?
Well, as Thomas Watson Sr. said, who was really the key founder, he wasn't the founder of IBM, but he's really the one that grew it in the early 1900s. If you want to double your success, or if you want to increase your success, double your failure rate.
Okay. So I just want to make 4 or 5 contacts a day. Not enough.
Not enough.
Not enough. What should the minimum standard be?
I think, my minimum standard when I was, for the first 10 years in the business, was 25 contacts a day, minimum.
That's a very good number. So anyone, anywhere, anytime, it doesn't matter if you're going to do doors for sell by owners, expired, circle dialing, standing in front of the supermarket and having 25 conversations with random people walking in. It doesn't matter what your form of talking to people is. You just got to talk to 25 people. And Stephen, I'll tell you, one of the things that our clients are doing right now is we're actually, part of, our contact game is we're actually having conversations via Facebook Messenger with people. And when they engage back, that's a contact. So they're some of my clients are doing like 5 of those contacts every single day. So again, there is no right and there is no wrong based on your personality, based on your selling style. Just choose one and stick with it. And if you are, even if it's slow and steady, you will make it to the other side, guaranteed, as long as you take personal responsibility and do it. So now I'm just going to add something to that, Stephen, not to take anything away from you. How do you speed up the process? How do you speed up the process is by getting very good at creating connections with people. How to get people to like you, trust you, respect you, see you as the expert, see you as the authority. If you could master that one skill, all of a sudden, people will open up to you. They will invite you into their home. And then they're listening to your changes. And all of a sudden, if they have a true desire to buy and or sell real estate and or invest and or have someone that they can refer to you, that's where the magic happens. And that's when you start getting miraculous results. Did I get that one right?
I think so. I wouldn't disagree with any of that. Not one bit.
Do you have a magic script? I'm just curious to find out any magic script for talking to people, getting people to, say yes to you or anything like that?
If you have one, I'm open to it. I found that magic doesn't work. I have no magic. I do know that authenticity rules, and having clients that trust you implicitly, makes deals go easier, and which frees you up to do more deals.
Man, I'm loving this conversation. I mean, you and I both, think so much alike, because at the end of the day, it really is just a conversation. You're either having a conversation with someone that needs your service or someone that doesn't need your service, and we don't make either one right or wrong. But so, and a lot of people can't really get to that place of authenticity, Stephen, in my opinion, is because they lack self-esteem and they lack, confidence.
Sure.
So that's why they rely so much on scripts and dialogues and objection handlers, and nothing wrong with that as well too. I have those too, but you got to go above and beyond the magic script, etc. You got to know how to have conversations with people. Any advice for someone in that boat right now?
Well, I think, that's a great question. I mean, I think here's the thing you said though. If you don't have the confidence and self-esteem, right, the first thing you got to get is that you are valuable in and of itself. Yeah. Right? If you don't value you, neither will anybody else.
That's true.
That we're not going to solve right here on this podcast. So that, and there's nothing wrong with not having that figured out, but being willing, responsible, being willing to go to work on that. Hey, you know what? I'm not willing to be vulnerable with my clients. What's behind that? Am I willing to do the work to look? I think, just being honest with ourselves is very difficult, but that is the beginning, right? The moment you can acknowledge, look, I'm not perfect. I screw up all the time. Where I improve is where I'm willing, where I don't BS myself, where I tell myself, all right, here's where you're missing out. Yeah. Be honest, tell the truth, and then, re-promise. So the first is that. And then the second thing is, I don't know where I heard this. It was from another agent. And they just said two things from two different people. One was, always put your clients first. Again, not novel and new, but if you always come from that place, it puts you in the right mindset. And that people get when you're operating from that point of view, trust is building. And then the second thing is, one of my mentors used to say, I'm going to screw this up. He said something like, if I never worry what to say, I always tell the truth. In other words, I think I got that right. In other words, he's never trying to figure out the right spin to put on things. If I just tell the truth, I'm always safe. You got nothing to worry about. I got nothing to worry about.
Always say the right thing. If you always tell the truth, you always say the right thing.
Yeah.
Something along that. Yeah. So this is awesome, man. So if somebody wanted to, get, enter your world, find out a little bit more about you, what you have to offer, your book, etc., how can people reach out to you? How can people connect with you?
Great. Thanks, Chadi. So the best way to get a hold of me is through my website, doorsopenwhenyouKnock.com. You can click a button that says schedule a call. I have social media, but my niece manages it, right? As the guy that goes door to door, and that's not the way to get a hold of me. And I'm happy to talk to people about how to apply this to their own business. And of course, the book is on Amazon, Doors Open When You Knock. And yeah.
Awesome. So doorsopenwhenyouKnock.com would be a great starting place for you to go to. And, if you're ready to make the purchase of the book, simply go to Amazon. And I think we all know how to use Amazon. And then if you wanted to carry on a conversation and pick the brain and figure out how Stephen can help you in your life and or in your business, then you can schedule a call with him at Doors Open When You Knock. Stephen, I so appreciate you giving us your time today. I know you had some very important things to do, and you stayed true to your commitment, and you showed up, and our audience and myself are very grateful for that opportunity. So we appreciate you, my friend. Any final words of wisdom?
Remember, doors don't open themselves. Doors only open when you knock.
That's right. Knock and you shall receive. Well, I appreciate you, man. We look forward to connecting with you again in the near future.
Awesome. Thank you, Chadi.
Thank you.